Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, my name is Billy Scott, and I was born here at Merle West Medical Center in 1984. That's right, I am one of the survivors. Not many of us left. I always loved that about my town. The hospital was Merle West, so it was always nicknamed Murder West. And then some brat idea at the hospital came up and said, hey, we're going to change the name to Sky Lakes. And 2 days later, it was Die Lakes, and that's what we've called it ever since. I love Klamath Falls because sophistication is not expected here. Like, Klamath Falls is one of the only places that you can tell your friends you're going to dinner at an upscale restaurant and they'll just assume you meant Applebee's. But I did used to do comedy here in Klamath Falls. It's been a long time. Since then, I've had a lot of jobs. I moved up to Salem for 10 years, but luckily I moved back before I caught liberalism. Still haven't voted for Biden. But being back in Klamath Falls, now I work construction, so get ready to hear some cock jokes. And you can't work construction unless you're talking about cock. It's when you're on a construction site and somebody pulls out some cocks, business halts for 20 minutes. It's like a women's locker room post or pre-2020. And the guy who invented cock, yeah, he spelled it C-A-U-L-K, but he wanted us to call it cock. Because think about it, he made it a long, skinny tube that shoots out white, sticky stuff. And it comes in all shapes and sizes and different colors. And everybody will tell you that the thickest stuff is the black cock. And he can tell you about that. But yeah, it's actually been a while since I've been on stage. My wife is here with me. Thank God she's here. I wouldn't be able to do this. Her and I have been married for so long that we don't even check warning labels on stuff we buy anymore. Like she's been with me so long that my virginity has grown back twice. Okay, it's not really that bad, but my right arm does get more exercise than a contestant on The Biggest Loser. Actually, we're actually a very romantic couple. We used to be even more so. I used to buy her a dozen roses every Friday. And she thought it was my way of just being a good husband, and really it was my way of saying, this is one rose to make up for every time I jacked off thinking about somebody else this week. And here's another dozen for the one time it was your sister. My wife is a good sport. She puts up with those jokes. She puts up with me and my antics all the time, and it's great. When we first moved back here, I worked as a mailman for about a year. And as you can imagine, I like going to work not dressed in something that looks like it came out of a Rodgers and Hammerstein movie. The postal uniform couldn't be any gayer if it was designed by Elton John's libido. It's terrible. But fellas, if you're looking for a lady to get with, find a mailman, or a mail woman. Because believe me, after a 12-hour shift of delivering mail and putting up with government bullshit, the ugliest guy would seem like a good idea. But yeah, I have lived here my entire life. I've had a lot of jobs in this town. For a while, I managed the Purple Parrot down here on South 6th Street. Any of y'all been there? Okay, if anybody's been to the Purple Parrot, you know it's a haven for tweakers. It's where they go. But you get to see some of the most interesting behavior. When I was working at the Purple Parrot, I was the manager. And a guy drove up to the parking lot and pulled his truck into the no parking zone where the lines are. He gets out of his truck, looks at the lines on the ground, closes his truck and walks inside and says, "Did I park in the no parking zone?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Oh, well, it's right next to the other one. I'm just going to be quick anyway." And I got to thinking, that's flawed logic at its best. But what if it wasn't? What if that was acceptable logic? What if I could be laying in bed with my wife and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, honey, did I put it in your butt by accident?" "Oh, well, it's right next to the other one, so I'm just going to be quick." Again, everybody feel bad for my wife. She deserves all the sympathy in the world. friends that were different than me, a lot of liberal friends, a lot of vegan friends, actually. I've always been a hunter, I've always been a meat eater, but one of my vegan friends posed the question to me: what would you do if all the animals in the world died and all that was left to eat was plants? And I know what they wanted. They wanted me to open my mind to thinking about eating plants, but what it really made me think was, would I rather be a vegan or experiment with cannibalism? Like, I mean, it would bring a whole new meaning to the phrase Mexican makes me gassy. And then it got even deeper in my head, because now I know not all vegans are liberals, but I'm pretty sure all liberals, not all liberals are vegans, but I'm pretty sure all vegans are liberals. So then I had to ask myself again, whether I'd experiment with cannibalism or betray my hometown and become